14, you got another one.
Man, it pains me to make this video because today's subject is on a person that I thought had the potential to be great in multiple industries. And for the most part, I'll talk about how people achieve greatness and try to give you all the things to learn from and use from their good qualities. Now this one is going to be a little different. I mean, it's still something you're going to be able to learn from, but it comes from how someone has ruined their opportunity for greatness. And as much as it pains me to say it, that person in this video was about Casanova 2 times, aka just Casanova, choosing the wrong path. Now, if you don't know who Casanova is, he's a rapper from New York. And in 2016, he dropped a dope song called Don't Run. Now, while it wasn't a worldwide hit in the hip-hop community, it was a pretty big hit, man. Now, at that time, people were really running with the narrative that New York lost its sound, and that all New York artists sounded like they were from Atlanta. I'm not saying it's true, but I'm not saying it's false either. But I am saying that it was a real popular take on hip-hop artists. Casanova's Don't Run made people feel like that real New York sound was back, and that Casanova was going to carry the torch for New York in the hip-hop world. He also had a 50 Cent type of image, and people thought that he would eventually reach the status of 50 Cent. Now, those reasons alone led to Roc Nation signing him to a record deal. Casanova was in position to really make a huge impact and become someone huge in the hip-hop community. He had a hit song, he had the right sound, and the right image. And he was just signed to Roc Nation as an artist. What could go wrong? He also had some heavy connections in the industry, like fellow New York hip-hop artists Fabulous and Chris Brown, who seemed ready to help in any way they could to help Casanova reach that next level. Now, getting to that level alone was a huge accomplishment for someone with Casanova's background and legal record. He was a street rapper and he had street cred to back it up. That includes getting convicted for crimes and living a life that had him in and out of jail for the majority of his adult life. Shit, his juvenile life as well. But even though he never hid this fact, little people know that he didn't have to grow up this hard. Growing up, Casanova had a privileged life on paper. He chose to jump into the streets and get active. Now, his reasonings on it make sense, but at the end of the day, it was still a terrible decision. His mom made a decent amount of money at the time, and she was really spoiling him.
I was good. My mom had the big crib. I was getting Jordans every week, but I still stole them. You know what I'm saying? Dumb. Everybody go through that phase in life where you want to prove yourself to others. You want to be accepted instead of respected. You don't really care about nothing else but to fit in with your crew or your fellow DJs or your fellow friends. You want to fit in. You do things not to stand out. You know what I'm saying? You just want to be good with your friends. And I guess that's where I messed my life up at. The average kid just want to be accepted. So if my mom's giving me everything, but my other friend is robbing it, I'm just like, shit, that's cool. That's cool to do. So I might as well go rob with you. And like,
you're just greedy.
Yeah, at the time you don't know, you don't understand greedy. You just understand fun, the rush, being down, you know what I'm saying? Getting credit, being praised.
Now, I agree with everything he said here, but it still doesn't change the fact that he chose that life. Unlike most kids in the hood, he had other choices. The choice he made altered his future and ultimately led him to exactly where he is now. It was a wrong path and he's paying a price for it. So although he was a kid, you can still learn from what he did wrong. You need to think about your decisions because they will show results at some point, whether it be immediately or later in life. You also need to make sure you share your wisdom with the people you love, especially with the kids in your family or in life in general. The wrong decision can lead to the wrong path and completely stop your journey to greatness. Being smarter. Like I mentioned before, Casanova chose the path he did and it led him to being in and out of jail. And when you go to jail or prison for the first time, you make one or two decisions. One, you either decide this isn't where you want to spend the rest of your life, and you decide to change that, so when you are ready to get out of jail, you stay out because you no longer do the illegal things that you did before to land you in jail. Or two, you think that you made a small mistake that led you to getting caught, and you decide that you can do the same things when you get out, but this time you'll be smarter about it so you don't get caught again. Before he started to blow up, he had just gotten out of jail for doing a 7.5-year bid. He was 27 at the time of release, so he kind of had a late start when it comes to being a rapper. But once he started gaining traction, he got to do some interviews like Vlad TV, The Breakfast Club, and others that were hot at the time. He said that after he got out of jail, he was still running the streets. Not necessarily robbing because the people he used to rob with wasn't robbing anymore, but he was still hanging with the wrong crowd. He said that 7.5 years didn't really change him. But what really did is he got locked up for a robbery that he didn't even commit. He was on parole and he couldn't get out until he went through the system. Now that was the moment that broke him and made him want to live on a straight, narrow path. Or at least that's what he said in the interviews. In those same interviews, he also seemed like he was a changed man. Like he was only focused on business. But after a couple years of freedom, he landed right back in jail. But this time it was for something way more serious. He was hit with a RICO charge. Now, RICO stands for Racketeer, Influenced, and Corrupt Organization. Basically, it's meant to charge the head of a crime organization like the mobs or the gangs, as well as everyone working underneath the boss. Casanova was charged and believed to be a major figure in the United Guerrilla Stone Nation. But it can't be true, right? He also stated that he finally learned his lesson. But did he really, or did he learn to do the same crimes even better or in a smarter way? After being found guilty, I think it was the latter. Now, these are the ways he tried to do it. And it might have worked if it wasn't for one of them in particular. On his multiple Breakfast Club interviews, he preached about him staying out of trouble and focusing on his craft. He gave reasons why, like having his freedom and being able to raise his daughter, who he was locked up for during the early years of her life. Sounds great and is exactly what he's supposed to say, whether he's really living on the straight and narrow or not. Keeps the police from looking at your every move. Good job. But on the other hand, according to the case files, he was actually still running a gang operation and supplying everything that the gang needed in order to commit the crime. He would be smarter this time in the fact that he would mostly be hands-off when it came to these crimes. Again, if you were moving in an illegal way, then good job. You've created some separation from the crimes. He also posted positive quotes on his social media all the time, which would lead you to believe that he was on a different path. And for the record, I do feel like he really felt what he was posting, but the downfall came from his next plan to move smarter. Now, everyone has watched movies or documentaries or something involving crime, so that you expect your phone to be tapped or that they might be watching certain spots that you frequently visit. So Casanova decided that he would use his Instagram messages and text messages to send orders and relay messages to his gang. Most people, right, maybe not most people, but I personally feel like that would have never worked, and it shouldn't even have been in his playbook. Just in case you don't know, the feds or police can go to Instagram directly and get access to your messages, and they can also go to your cell phone provider to get access to your messages. Just because you delete them from your phone doesn't mean that they are gone forever. There is a paper trail, or a digital paper trail, I should say. And if they get a hold of your phone, then they have access to your iCloud or whatever type of service your phone uses to store things. While he thought he was moving smarter and doing things that don't always involve talking on the phone, even though there were recordings of him talking on the phone with gang members that were locked up. In the end, it didn't help. They used pictures and messages from his Instagram posts, his social media messages, and text messages to show that he was selling trafficked drugs, kicking back money to help the gang with their illegal moves, and managing gang meetings. Shit was just bad all around. He thought he was moving in a way that the police would never see, but obviously he was wrong. Trying to be smarter after getting locked up doesn't mean that you should go back and do the same thing in a different way. It means that you need to sit down and evaluate and move differently, because the majority of the time, if you go back to doing what you were doing before, you'll get caught again. Currently, Casanova is doing 188 months in prison. That is crazy, bro. This man has so much potential. Casanova was in position not only to make a successful living in the music industry, but he had the personality and talent to do things outside of music that would place him in bigger and more lucrative situations. He had charisma, he had a thorough image, he had the voice, he had the background, he had the backing and connections. He had a real chance at greatness. He even tasted it for a little while. Just learn from his mistakes and don't fuck up your future. Y'all be great. I'm